Hello. Hope everyone's had a great day today. Today I just want to do a quick stream, maybe for an hour, and just get some more work done on this color study that we started last week. And so last week we started off, just to recap, with what I call step 1, which is just laying down a lot of flat colors, not thinking too much about texture, shading, and detail, and focusing more so on getting the overall shape and placement of everything down. So once we did that, we then started step 2, which is adding texture and shadows and tweaking a lot of things to make it closer to the final image. So I was able to, I think we actually ran out of layers last time, so I was able to get rid of some old layers we weren't using. And now let's get started. So one thing that I want to do this time is get started on, let me grab this real quick, the banner awning. I don't know what you'd call that, but let's get started on that. Where would that be? It's gonna be here. I just feel like it needs a little bit more texture, maybe some fading in the corner. I see some like oranges there. So let's try this color. Has some painterly effects. Maybe what acrylic would work. There we go. Let's clip this on. Let's experiment with some blend modes. Kind of like this. There we go. Hold on. Alright. Okay. I want to blend this just a little bit. There you go. That instantly gives it a bit more dimension. However, it's a bit too orangey for my taste, so I'm gonna turn it down just slightly. And I feel like I should add some greens in here. Yeah, I'd say it's about accurate. I see a lot more on the corner, probably from wear and tear and fading. So let's clip this on as well, and let's set this to, where's color render? I actually kind of like that. I like this as well. There we go. Alright, so let's do a quick before and after. Before, after. Not sure if it picks up the quality, but there's a definite jump in texture and realism that it adds to it. And I actually want to make this a little whiter here. Add a bit more light to it because it's a bit dull. Let's clip this on. Set it to soft light. Alright. Okay. Alright, let's do the window next. So one thing that I'm noticing here is that this is a very dark shade of brown, and this is way too light, so I want to darken it just slightly, and then we'll work on the window. So for this, we're just gonna go to the color adjustment, pull it down to maybe 37. Actually, let me select it because I'm noticing a bit of shading here. So let's grab this area and pull this down to about 37, maybe desaturate it a little bit. And then, where's the light coming from? Let's darken the edge here, just to give it a bit of dimension. I want to add a bit more here. fill this in. Alright, there we go. So now, let's see. Maybe let's add some noise a little bit. And then pull down the saturation. Alright. So now the next thing we're gonna do is the window. And for this I wanna chop this corner off just a little bit. Okay. So then we're going to select this area here and just make it slightly darker. Yeah, that works. Try this. Also adjust the darkness a little bit. No, it's a bit too dark. There you go. Then we'll adjust the overall darkness of the window as a whole here, like so. It's a bit too dark. And then we add noise. And then for this I actually want to increase the saturation because the wood looks a bit more orange in the reference picture. So let's crank this up a little bit. There we go. And now for this, let's change the glass to black. And then we'll just add some loose shapes and colors just to give it a bit of a reflection effect. So let's just add some of this. Just clip this on. I see a bit of a light bulb, so we're going to create a quick gradient using the ellipse tool. That's how you pronounce that. Let's go up like so, and maybe we do one final shade. Oh, merge this down. And I actually want to shrink this because I feel like this is a bit too big. There you go. And then just adjust the opacity. Let's add a bit of bloom and see what that does. Not too much. And then I like to also add some white streaks wherever I can, and then blend it in just ever so slightly because it's a bit too rough. There we go. And then just lower the opacity, and there you go. So now let's compare this so far. Wow, that's a huge difference. Holy cow. Alright, so let's see what's next. Yeah, that's awesome. Alright. We have the chairs fixed. Let's actually work on the signs. Those are gonna be... Here we go. So just select some boxes. And darken it just a little bit to give it an indicator of like there's text there. And then I noticed a little flower looking thing, so I'm just gonna lighten this area just a little bit, decrease the saturation. Just the darkness. There we go. I'm gonna add a little bit of a shine here. Does it look like it's almost metallic? And then let's add some noise to this because I feel like this might be a wood-like texture. There we go. Alright. Then we're just going to turn this to pure white. Alright. Now let's actually work on the shading for this area. I feel like that's missing right now, so get rid of that. Let's start with this shade right here. Do a bit of a box. Color fill. Hey, glad you're streaming again. Yep, thinking of doing it once a week. Right now I'm going with Wednesdays, which is a good time in my schedule for it. But yeah, Wednesdays seem to be the day, at least for the time being, that I'm gonna be streaming. So I think next week I'm gonna be working on some portraits possibly, but don't hold me to that, because I definitely want to finish this today. But I also don't want to keep do the next 3 or 4 streams focusing on this either. So let's add some of this. There we go. Alright. Let's okay. That seems to be the basic shading. I feel like this is too dark. Let's change the color a little bit to don't feel like this is a bit too light and grayish, bluish, so desaturate it a little bit. There we go. Okay. Let's work on the little sign, if I can find it. Okay, here we go. Just add some little scribbles here. Darken it slightly. Let's actually make this crooked. There we go. I actually kind of like it vertical, but I want to lighten this a bit because I feel like the text, so to speak, is a bit too dark. Alright, so now let's work on this little chair thing here. Alright. There we go. And now let's just flatten this whole area down. Add a little bit of shadow to this corner. Again, it's not super accurate to the reference, but the point of this is just to create a background using simple shape, no black lines, and just working with these 64 colors palette we have here and just seeing what we can do with it. So that's the general point of these studies, not too much for accuracy. So let's brighten this a little bit. Let me actually add some text. There we go. Now let's add some noise. Actually, I'm not sure how I feel about the noise. I feel like it kind of takes away any shading. Let's mess with the curves a little bit. Alright. Try this. Yeah, I like that. Alright, lastly, let's work on the umbrella real quick. Let's just flatten this down. Add a little bit of shading to it. Just clip this on. And then let's shade this with an orange. There we go. So now, so we have this. Wow, I actually kind of like that. Yeah, there we go. So now let's add some shading to the actual wall of the building. I have a few ideas for this, but I want to try concrete block. Clip this. I feel like the gray instantly turned it into a McDonald's. Alright, there we go. I'm not sure if you can pick up the detail, but it adds a bit of texture. Not quite sure if you can pick it up, but let's add a bit more. Let's try this. There we go. And lastly, I just want to add a little bit of noise. Let's brighten this a bit. And then add some noise. And then set it to color burn. So let's do a quick before and after. Before, after. It's a huge difference. Holy cow. I really like how it's turning out. So now I pretty much say we have the building down. So let's work on the other exterior things, such as this dead plant here. Let's where's the light coming from? Okay, I feel like this can be. I actually feel like I could shade this with some orange. And then darken the underside of the, I want to say lip of the cone, of the vase. There you go. Now let's add a bit of the green paint that got splattered onto the pot. Wow, that's like a near perfect shade actually. I feel like there's a bit more turquoise in it, but it's close. Alright. And now let's mess around with the dead branch. So for this, I wanna add some noise to it. Instantly gives it that decaying dead stem look. Now let's see what brushes I can use for this. Maybe Paper Daisy. Yeah, I actually like that. Wow, yeah, that really works. I feel like it needs a little bit more light in it. Then we'll clip this on. And then let's add some shadows real quick. Oh. Alright. There we go. Now we have a dead plant. So we have that done. I feel like this needs a little bit of texture. There we go. We have the dead plant done. Now let's work on the pipe. Pipes are always really fun because they're super geometrical and you just have to shade them like so. Actually, where's the... Okay. And then let's add a little bit of light source. And then let's boost the saturation just a little bit. Feel like it needs a bit of shading to it, or shadows. Let's cover this real quick. But see how from a distance the pipe looks almost photorealistic, like a real piece of metal or copper? That's kind of the goal, so that when you really zoom out, it looks almost like a picture. But then when you zoom in, you can tell it's still a background, but a bit more. It's obviously a drawing, but it still has those realistic yet stylized elements to them. Kind of like the Looney Tunes backgrounds, how they used to do for a lot of old cartoons. Super realistic, stylized, trying to think what the term is, but they had really unique backgrounds that from a distance looked photorealistic, but then zoomed in you could tell it was a drawing, but you could still tell exactly what everything was. So that's the goal here. So now let's actually I want to adjust the roof a little bit. Kind of bright yellow. box here, and then we're gonna shade it. There we go. Alright, so we have the building pretty much down. See if we can work on the second building. So for these windows, I'm gonna grab the same color. Let's alpha lock it. And then we're just gonna darken. Alright, that looks about right. So one thing I'm noticing is that there's a lot of texture on the windows on the edge, especially on top. Looks like maybe dust or construction work that happened. So let's try the do this underneath. So we're just gonna start with some whites on this to indicate the light source, and then we're going to smudge it. There we go. Let's see if we can do a clip layer. I kind of like screen. I want to see if I can add some splatters as well. Try flicks. And there you go. And now same thing, we're going to mess around with the windows a little bit. Add some cool reflection. So with this, you can just kind of go crazy and just draw whatever random shapes, and then just adjust the opacity. I feel like this needs a bit of black. Want to give this some depth. There we go. Alright, so let's work on the brick pattern. I believe I have a brick brush somewhere. Can't seem to find it, so let's see what we can do with corrugated iron. Let's see how we can get that. There we go. Let's see what that looks like. Looks a bit too much like plaid, so let's erase some of it. Alright. I actually have an idea. I want to try something to get that brick texture. Yeah, I actually like that. You just kind of mess around with different shades of gray and then layer them to give them a sort of brick-like texture. Oop. Alright, there we go. Now let's tweak this just a little bit. Now it needs just a little bit more light to really give it that brick-like look. There we go, that's perfect. Now I want to add some spray paint effect, give it a bit more texture. Try medium. Pull down the curves a little bit. Then let's erase this a little bit here. Yeah, there we go. So that's that side building done pretty much. And I still, we're out of layers, so let's combine all this down. I'm gonna add a little bit of smudges to the window. And we'll blend this in. There we go. Now, before I do that, let me Alright. Okay. So now let's shade this just a little bit, give it some dimension. Then just add texture to the whole thing, just ever so slightly. There we go. Do the underside of the roof. This I feel like could be a bit brighter. And then we're going to actually, let's just put noise over the whole thing. There we go. Alright, so check the time. Alright, let's work on the shipping container here. So for this, we're going to lighten this almost all the way. I'm going to add some little dark strips here to indicate the ridges of the shipping container. And then we're going to try to mimic this. Let's see. We're going to try to mimic this angle. And then we'll also throw that in as well. So we're going to then alright, see how that looks. Perfect. Add a bit of white here, just ever so slightly. Perfect. And then let's adjust this a little bit. Then I'm noticing some texture on this as a whole. So let's add a bit of this. Have some fun with it. Really blend it in. There you go. Alright, then we'll probably finish the shipping container and then end the stream. And then, yeah. So, I'm noticing there's a lot of shadows here, so I'm not gonna worry too much about these details, but let's do this and just add some noise real quick over it. It's actually just darken the whole thing because it's under the shadow of the building to the right of it. Alright, there we go. Then let me just quickly add some. Alright, let me add some noise here. Clip this on. And we're done. For at least with that part. So how long have we been streaming? Almost an hour. Not too bad. So I'm probably gonna end it here because I have to go eat and then I have some stuff to do after. So tune in, make sure to tune in next week, next Wednesday, and we might finish this up or we might move on to something else completely. So thank you so much for joining, and I really hope you had fun and maybe learned something new, and I'll see you next week.